Hey guys, today is going to be a discussion about homeschool. So if that is something that interests you, you are really going to want to stick around. So today I want to talk to you about Generations homeschool curriculum. I am a partner with Generations because I love Generations. Funny fact, I had actually never heard of Generations until just a couple years ago. And there was actually somebody at church who gave me a magazine. It was about discipleship and worldview. And in that magazine, there was actually an advertisement for Generations. And I had never heard of it before. But one of the things that caught my eye when I saw it in the magazine was it said it was a God-centered curriculum. And I know a lot of times we hear Christian curriculum. And so it's kind of like a natural assumption. Well, isn't it about God and the Bible? And yes, definitely there are lots of faith-based Christian curriculums out there, but that does not by default mean that they are in fact God-centered. Sometimes it just means that they have interwoven some biblical truths into their curriculum. And if that's what you're seeking and that works for you, then that's fine. But as soon as I got turned on to a God-centered curriculum, I was sold, because that, to me, as a mom, is the most important thing that I can impart to my kids, is a God-centered worldview. To always see Him at the center of everything and build out from there. In every subject, in two key subjects that I find it to be the most important are history and science. So as a partner with Generations, I was able to pick some things that I wanted to try from their catalog, and I jumped right into their sciences. I chose God Made Animals for my younger guys. That would be my first grader and my fourth grader. And then I chose God Made Life for my sixth grader. And these are a series. They have God Made Plants, God Made the World, so they all kind of build on each other. And they are at different reading levels. So God Made Animals is one of the lower levels, and so it is easy to read. We actually use it as a read aloud. That's how I do it with my younger guys. We read it together. I even have a 4-year-old who happens to listen to our science as we read it. They have great pictures. This will really gross you out. A nice picture of a tick. But at the end of each chapter, it does have a section where you pray together. It has a video link that you can go to and kind of watch. It's not the same as like an interactive video, but you can go back and watch as they discuss the main points from the chapter, which if you had a 4th or 5th grader who was reading this independently would be great for them. And then they do have a do section with some things for you to do. Now, these would normally in science curriculums be considered experiments, but these are things that are a little more basic, like doing exercises and feeling how your pulse rate increases. It's not things that require you to run out and buy materials. And I appreciate that tremendously, because I have used some other sciences before, and I don't like science experiments. I don't think they turn out well. They require a bunch of running around grabbing stuff, and then, you know, the little ones will ruin it before the big ones get to finish it. So I don't like those types of experiments. But these were very easy, hands-on, I would call them activities, to reinforce some of the things that you had learned in the chapter. So it worked beautifully for us. Now, they do have a workbook that comes with this, and it is a traditional workbook style. There are vocabulary questions. There's a matchup of vocabulary. There's comprehension questions. There's some fill in the blank. And then they also do have some worksheets that go along with observations in there as well. Now, I'm going to tell you the honest truth. For my little guys, I would not recommend the workbook for our family style of how we learn. Now, if you pass this off to your 4th or 5th grader with the assignments laid out as they are in the workbook, they could really do it independently. That's not our style. We learn together as much as we can for as long as we can. I have a daughter who's in high school, and she doesn't really do these subjects with us anymore for obvious reasons. She has her high school physical science that she does. And I have my middle schooler, which I put in a higher level of the God-made life. Now, I will tell you the reading level for this is higher. It's going to use a lot of those scientific words that are not as rigorous in this lower level for obvious reasons. But this one, at the middle school level, is still beautifully laid out. You've got great pictures, diagrams, charts. It is everything that you would expect from a typical science book. And it does the same at the end of these chapters as it did with the lower grades. It has a section where you pray about things. It has a do section with some quick activities that you can do. And then it does also have a link to a video. Now, again, it's not an entertainment video, but if you are handing this off to your middle schooler, which I think at that age you definitely could do, you give them the assignments for the week, break it down by day. They can follow the checklist. They could do that 100% independently. I chose to read this along with Benji this year, just because he's in middle school. We are transitioning to that more independent way of learning. But for us, this is a way that we still like connect. And I get a little bit of time with him before he is just like 100% independent. You know, Lila really, at this point, she's in high school and she pretty much learns on her own. And mamas, isn't that our goal, that our kids would be invested and have the tools to be able to learn things for themselves? But it's a little bit sad too. So I'm trying to hang on for this 6th grade year. I'm like, we're doing science together. And that is how we have done it. And he has done the workbook and he does that independently. I want to tell you 2 reasons why I absolutely love this science. Number 1, this science, when you start reading it, I feel like it can preach, right? When it starts talking about how God created things to work and the intricacies in the way that it is clear there was a designer and that it is God-centered. It doesn't show a process and then, you know, kind of like tie it back to we saw it here in Scripture. It starts at the very beginning of God designed this, you know, animal with this defense mechanism. He designed this reproductive system to produce this fruit. It's very clear all throughout, both levels. And I love that. It's super important to me. The other part that really just sold me on this as the science for us is the way that they are able to, in both levels, both the animals and the plants, in elementary and to middle school, they tie it back to practical everyday things. To say the way that the smartest, most advanced people are able to make a vehicle. Right? And they'll compare like all of the advancements, and this moves this and this does that. You know, you've got to have this piece and it causes this reaction and all those kinds of things. But then they'll tie it back and they'll show how a cell operates in a human body or in a plant. And they'll talk about all these different intricacies, and it'll contrast and compare between the cellular level, the complexity on a cellular level of a plant or of an animal, to that of a car engine. Like the most amazing thing that a man has been able to create, the complexities of it. And there are still some things within the cell of the human and the cell of a plant that we just don't understand why it does that thing it does. But it's critically important that it does that thing, or else it breaks the whole system down. Thereby showing that God is always greater. His complexity and design far outdoes what a human being could ever do. And I was sold. So this is the science that we have used for elementary and for middle school. And I cannot say enough about it. I'm excited to continue to go through science with them. They look forward to it. It is easy to modify and use however it works best for your family. Or you can simply follow the way that it is laid out in the book. And that is a good system as well. So if you have any specific questions about either one of these science courses, I have used them now. We're about halfway through. I would be happy to answer any of your questions if you just comment below and let me know. So mamas, as we head into this homeschool conference season and we start thinking about curriculums, if you're looking for a good, God-centered, solid, biblically based, but still science-backed up curriculum, I would recommend looking at Generations because it has been a wonderful fit for all ages that I have done it with so far.